Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Mikhail Peters. My baby is here with me. You're so cute, but I'm not letting her in this video for reasons. Okay, anyway, so I don't know how I have such a weird baby that doesn't even take naps. And she's not even 1 year old. Maybe I'm lucky if she takes 1 2-hour nap. I'm equally as lucky if she takes 2 40-minute naps, but I'd say on average, it's about a 1 hour nap a day, and I tend to sleep the same 9 hours as her at night, so unfortunately, we can probably confirm that she inherited the short sleeper gene from at least 3 people she's related to, namely her father, I know, her grandmother, my mom, or her great-grandmother, my dad's mom. Because none of those people sleep. I sleep. I don't... This is the only flaw of this baby. Otherwise, she's not too bad. Alright, anyway, so the irrelevant interlude, but today's video is going to be about Finland being a difficult place to live for international people. Because I had a video probably a year or so ago in which I was talking about how... trying to make this interesting for her too. How Finland breaks Americans, and I was in a program with other Americans, so I knew very specifically how that was affecting other Americans. But now I just tend to have a lot more... Yes. I tend to have a lot more international friends who are not American, and in some ways, I would actually describe their experience of being in Finland as even more difficult than the experience of Americans being in Finland. I'd say the biggest reason for that probably is around money, because a lot of people are coming from countries where whatever their currency is not as powerful as the euro. Let's be fair, the dollar is not even as powerful as the euro. It's just that the US economy is stronger than Finland's economy, and I think a lot of Americans who are coming over here, quite frankly, do have some degree of privilege, because in order to even get out of the US, you have to have some degree of privilege. However, you could say that for each of these other countries. And again, we can return to the concept of the hedonic treadmill, in which, you keep reaching for something, and each time you reach that thing, you're not satisfied, and you keep reaching more and more. An oversimplification of that I like to quote is one time my aunt said that God made us to be goal-setting people. So, yes, I think it's already an amazing feat to end up in Finland. I do remember learning a very long time ago when I was young, and I remember my grandfather told me the hardest countries in the world to immigrate to are the Nordic countries, because they have the highest standard of living and the best quality of life. I guess I subconsciously buried that message and was like, okay, that's the only place that I know that life is better, so therefore maybe that's my goal. I liked traveling to post-Soviet countries where things were cheaper for me as an American. However, again, going back to this quality of life thing that I just mentioned, unfortunately, I don't really think that the quality of life improvement is there. So, with a quality of life improvement, which in a high standard of living, meaning that you're not really worried about certain things, like you don't have 5 million construction projects at all times in your crappy, worn-down house the same way you do in the US. A real problem. So, yeah, I'd say people's living conditions in the US are questionable at best half the time, despite what people think about it being a wealthy nation. People are too busy working, so therefore the houses look like crap. Honest opinion. Unless you've got an inordinate amount of money, which will return to the fact that obviously that is not most people. Okay, I digress. So, getting to Finland is already one thing. But I think one of the challenges becomes once you get to Finland, there are these things that you don't have to worry about, so then you start worrying about other things. And returning to the concept of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where at the bottom we have food, shelter, clothing, and then it kind of goes up, and then belonging and self-actualization, etc. So I think that, maybe there is a challenge around belonging here, but what I'm trying to get at is people who end up over here, I think there is a luxury. As I say, worrying about your mental health is really a luxury. For most of human history, people couldn't even like easily get food. Now we have too much food. So the food, shelter, clothing thing, I mean, yeah, housing, don't get me started on housing. It's like, I'm like traumatized ever even thinking about housing again, but that's a personal issue. What? What did you say? What did you say? Okay. She agrees with me. What is this? The gabagool. Never mind. It's not important. It's an inside joke with my friends. Can you do this? Well, she thinks it's interesting, so we'll keep doing this. This used to be a thing in middle school for me, and it was like, it doesn't even make any sense, so I shouldn't even try to explain it, but it was basically like if you made somebody look, it was at this thing, and then it was like, got them kind of thing. Okay. So again, people kind of come here, they do, this is a weird word whisper. Okay, they have a lot of time on their hands. They have already reached this higher level of existence in terms of comfort and everything. And now they start to feel like, okay, maybe my mental health is declining. And it is much more socially acceptable in Finland to be like, I cannot do X, Y, or Z because of my mental health. Whereas, I was talking to some Russian people yesterday, they're like, you can't do that in Russia. If you're trying to do that, it's like, this person's a loser. And I'm like, honestly, like, same in the US. It's funny because I think often about, like, how many things are, like, the same between Russian and Finnish culture, or the same between Russian and American culture, or the same between Finnish and American culture, but not, like, all of them together. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen so often. Okay, so all right, now, yeah, I think that's kind of this problem is that, people just have too much time on their hands here, and they're not distracted enough, and especially when you're coming from places in the world that are very densely populated, where there's constantly a lot going on. You have your family kind of gives you some, like, structure and boundaries, or lack thereof, haha, and you're pretty occupied by that, and then you come here, and it's like you're alone, and Finland is not an easy place to not feel alone. Part of that is, like, people live by themselves. Honestly, it's easier that way. It's not very inviting to go outside all times a year, and it can be difficult to find communities, even if you are an international person and network a lot with other international people. And then you get into all these international people are coming from different cultures, which adds another layer of complication on top of that. I think she's going to have her own channel pretty soon, because apparently she has a lot to contribute to this discussion too. How do you feel about being an international person who was born in Finland? Tell me, please. Okay. Yeah. But I think some of the other stuff, aside from financial stuff, because even if people are coming, and again, to get out of these countries, you have to have some level of privilege. Even if these people are coming from countries in which Morocco, I bought from Turkey. Woo! Even if these people are coming from countries that are not as prosperous at, like, currency value wise. Okay. Even if you're coming from privilege, that disparity does not help anything. So people, I find that even if they had privilege in their own country, they're worried about money here. I think everybody's always worried about money all the time, even rich people, so yeah. But if we add, are you gonna let me do this video? Where's your binky? If we add war and sanctions, on top of all of that, where you've had situations like with Russia or Iran right now, where you can't even get money out of your country, like, that's a problem. So or just the fact that war is happening in your country, and even though it's not directly affecting you in the sense that you're removed from it because you're in a different country, obviously you still have friends and family there who are being affected by it. So you're indirectly affected by it. So I think that maybe Finland is also a place where people just have too much time to think. They have too much time alone. And I think it's all these factors that can really make it very difficult for people where, my theory is if somebody even had an inkling of mental health problems in their own country and they were just kind of distracted or used to the environment, when they come to Finland, if those were a little bit dormant or not so, active in their lives, it seems like it just shifts into complete overdrive here, and then it's forever a problem. So it's like the whole once you know something, you can't unknow it. And I think all the discussion around mental health in Finland is something that you can't unknow once you know. Like, once you know that that's actually, I don't want to say something that exists, but something that is socially acceptable to talk about in a certain place, you can't help but redefine your own relationship with mental health in your own mind. So, I've said this before, but unfortunately, everybody has to go through this journey of struggling and being depressed in Finland. Even Finnish people themselves sometimes, but mostly international people. And there's really nothing you can do besides try to be a friend, try to be a listening ear, try to spend time with people. But sometimes, no matter how much you're doing that, it's not even always enough. Now, I don't know if it's just like a sign of the times, because people generally tend to be very unhappy with a lot of things these days and in their personal lives. So, maybe this is an issue everywhere, but I just know more about it in Finland. Because I'm like, when I see Finnish people, we're not really having these discussions about, I'm so stressed out about this, or I'm so upset about this, or I'm having a hard time with this. Oh, don't forget the job market one and complaining about not being able to find a job here. Ugh, I don't know what's more triggering, that discussion or the housing discussion for me, but yeah. I mean, then people will look at me as if I have a magic wand or a maraca, and I can somehow, solve this problem for them. I wish, man. I wish I could solve that problem for myself. We didn't get there yet. So, I don't know. It's really my heart goes out to these people. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's I hate to be happiness is a choice, but a lot of it is working hard to reframe your feeling or your view or your attitude towards whatever situation you're in. You can be in a lot of situations that suck, but if you focus on what the good thing in that situation is, that can really help you. I don't know, this is a very personal example, but I don't really love my situation. Well, okay, I love having a baby. I don't love the situation in which I had a baby. And those nuances are allowed to coexist with each other. So yes, you can be very proud of the fact that you made it to Finland. However, you can also admit that culturally and socially, Finland is a very hard place to live as an international person. Again, I wish I had the... What? I wish I had the resources to be able to help this. I was talking to somebody about how I felt like the most unhappy people I met were very wealthy people. And we were discussing how that's because people who don't have anything, it's anything additional that they're getting is them making them happier. But, as another friend said, rich people can be crazy because they have no purpose in life. And she was like, that's why people do philanthropy. And I was like, true that. So I was like, yeah, man, if I could be a philanthropist, I would somehow try to provide more resources and support for international people in Finland. Maybe there's a way to do that without there being a large economic toll on it. Maybe part of it is me organizing meetups. I don't know. I was trying to say that maybe I have mild paranoia of what if I get an in-person stalker. Maybe what I should do is I should write a book and then people can meet me when I have a book signing. That would be more logical. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I'm scared of meeting my fans, even though I have met some of my fans, to be honest. Okay, so I think that's everything I can come up with on this topic, and it's like one of these things where I wish that there was something that I could say or do to eliminate this problem or to help mitigate this problem, but at the end of the day, I just accept that it is going to eternally be a problem by the nature of how Finland is. Now, on the other hand, I'm a little bit confused about why Finland does a lot of outreach to try to get people to come here when these problems exist, and it's very difficult for people to stay in Finland afterwards. But then again, maybe it's good for the economy and it's good for promoting mutual understanding and exchange and all these things that we like to do, like for instance with the Fulbright Scholarship, as we call it, soft diplomacy. Yeah, so maybe that's the point. I don't know. I should ask the Finnish government. Low-key curious now. If anybody knows the answer to that, please put it below. There's probably an awhile article on this that somebody's going to link for me. If you're that person, thank you in advance. Alright, that's everything I got for today because I'm hungry and it's already like almost 7 and I'd like to eat dinner and give my baby a bath and put her to bed and try to do some work on the computer. But I'm literally so exhausted today that I weirdly want to sit around and watch TV, which is never, said no one ever, no, just kidding, a lot of people say that, never said me, like, that is not a general feeling I have to be incredibly burnt out for that, and I'm trying to figure out, yes, I know what thing burnt me out, but I'm not going to talk about it, yeah, I don't know, I had some weird stuff happen to me in the last couple days, with, like, blasts from the past that I did not want to think about, and yeah, it doesn't feel good. I don't know. It made me tired. Yeah. So now I kind of needed to decompress. Alright, anyway, that noise is like the I'm tired noise, but she doesn't sleep, I'm telling you. So, that's it. My point was, Finland is supposed to be boring, and I had these weird things happening, and I was like, come on. Why are weird things happening when I'm supposed to be somewhere boring? I love Finland, but I also love stability, which is the other thing I love about Finland. Because, to me, boring is stable. Boring is good. Exciting is not sustainable. So, that's my opinion of the day. Okay, until next time, bye.